Welcome to the Divine Connection podcast. I'm your host, Christina Aroche, and together we are walking the path of discovering your true self and the alignment with your soul. Through these conversations, you will experience a deeper level of connection with yourself and the universe, and most importantly, you will trust in your spiritual journey ahead. Let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Divine Connection. I am so excited for my guest today. This is going to be such a fun and enlightening conversation, I feel. So today I have Kalei, who is joining me, who is a new paradigm business leader and human design expert. She loves novelty, deep conversations, self-empowerment, and dark chocolate with a hint of sea salt, which when I saw that, I was like, yes, please sign me up for that. Kalei is the founder and CEO of Expanded Flow, currently serving hundreds of clients from around the world as they reclaim their life force from the old paradigm of business and embark on a more purposeful and sustainable path of wealth creation by leveraging their human design. So, oh my gosh, that right there already, I'm like, this is going to be so good, so exciting. I love human design and I love talking about business. So welcome, Kalei. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Christina. It is such a joy and a pleasure to be sitting with you today, connecting with you. It's always been really refreshing and grounding to be in your energy and being able to receive through your projector gifts, which I know we'll probably talk a little bit about today, but yeah, I'm just grateful to be here, grateful to be able to share this conversation with your audience, and hopefully they receive something valuable and insightful that supports them on their journey of self-development, spiritual development, and all of those wonderful things.
Yay. Yes, I am sure. Because, same likewise with you. You are such a wealth of knowledge. And I feel like, we could probably talk for hours about human design and business and all the things. And we'll get into all of that. And for anyone who doesn't know what human design is, we will cover that and we'll talk about it. I want to start off first by asking about, your perspective with business, because I know that, this old paradigm versus new paradigm, it's something that we're all transitioning through and moving into. And I'm really curious to hear about your perspective of what that exactly is. And, what does it look like for someone who's been in the old paradigm potentially? What does it look like to be in the new paradigm? Give us a little bit of insight in terms of what that looks like.
Yeah. Thank you for that question. Very powerful question. And I also believe that it's something that we get to be in contemplation around, because we are in this very powerful transitionary time period in human evolution where we are moving out of what we refer to as the old paradigm. This is a really powerful question because we're moving through a very important time period in human evolution where we're transitioning out of the old paradigm into this new paradigm of business, and we're co-creating the new paradigm of business that we want to live and be in relationship with, and be in relationship with money through this ecosystem of, and to be exchanging resources for being in the highest expression of our gifts and being in this highest expression of service to others and service to the collective good. And so as we're moving towards that, it's allowing ourselves to be conscientious of and also contemplative about what is not working about our current construct of business, our current construct of reality as it relates to business, and exchanging our time, energy, and resources in exchange for resources, namely money, and things like that. And so how I think of like the old paradigm of business right now is it's a hierarchical model for the most part, where we we allow ourselves to exist within a structure where we're giving our power to somebody else. And that's how the hierarchical model of business basically needs to operate, is that the person higher in the hierarchy has power or dominion over the person or the people or the group of people that are lower in the hierarchy. And what I think has been like a big catalyst for our collective consciousness and humans as a whole is the global pandemic that happened in 2020, where people began to realize that we have been operating within a societal model where we're programmed to give that power away. And so I think what's really important that we're like sitting with and thinking about right now is like, what does it mean for me to see myself as the fully autonomous, powerful, like being in the here now, and that I have agency and choice in terms of like how I'm in relationship with power and how I regard other people in my life in terms of power. And I see this as like a very important rebalancing of power and figuring out how to honor the power, the gifts, the strengths of like the individual, and how, if we can think of everybody as like a puzzle piece, if you will, that like the texture and like the flavor of our power is like what makes up our like unique puzzle piece configuration. And then how does my puzzle piece of power and potential interact with your puzzle piece of like power and potential? And then when we're in relationship with one another, that interdependency, there's that cliche phrase that like the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, but like it's really actually tapping into the potential of what gets created through these more synergistic relationships between people. And that the new paradigm of business is unfolding through a recognition of that being sort of the bedrock value system that the new paradigm is operating within, and that there is a willingness to unhook our energy from any of these prior business models, these hierarchical business models, these unsustainable business models, things like that. So I'll pause there.
I just love this so much. And it's so powerful because one of the things that I've seen through my work and, supporting people on their spiritual journey, and then also, discovering who they truly are and what they really come here to do, is this desire for people to really, step into their true purpose, where exactly like you said, people are realizing like this, 9 to 5 or this whatever thing that I'm just doing doesn't fulfill me. It actually is sucking away at my soul. And having this desire to really, step into something greater. And from my work and my perspective and people that, kind of follow me, a lot of that has to do with, their gifts with regards to spirituality, connecting or being able to channel or being able to just, use their intuition to guide people or support others, being healers, working with healing energy in whatever form that may be. And so I feel like there's this parallel that seems like there's, very much connected to what you just talked about with this rise of healers. And I often talk about that with my audience, of how there's this rise of healers, there's this rise of spiritual connection and people talking about spirituality in this way that's more than just, okay, this is my personal journey, but actually in a business sense, you know what I mean? And actually like bringing that forward to people. And I think it's just so beautiful to hear, your perspective on that and how this is literally what is happening. There's this evolution that's happening um, in terms of the consciousness of humanity and in terms of our evolution, how we work together. And so I'm really curious because to me, it feels like this is the perfect moment to kind of bring in the aspect of human design and to kind of share a little bit more about that, because I know, I'll just share with the audience, my personal journey with human design has been that I discovered it in early 2021. And, from there I discovered that I'm a projector. And from there, my journey started of really kind of, slowly, because there's so much information in human design. I feel like I'm still scratching the surface, but this kind of just slow and steady learning experience of what is human design and what does that mean about me and who I am and how I operate. And I found it to be very useful for me in terms of, like you mentioned, letting go of old paradigm beliefs or business practices or ways of doing things that I thought I just had to do because that's what everyone does. And, for me, really, it's been such a huge giving myself permission to really hone in on who I am and how, like you mentioned, I love the puzzle piece analogy of what my puzzle piece, how it fits into everything. You know what I mean? So I'm really curious, as a human design expert, for you to, first of all, just share a little bit about what human design even is for anyone who's like, what the heck is that? And then also how that kind of starts to fit in with this conversation, and especially with this rise of spiritual leaders, healers, teachers, our spiritual connection, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I first want to mirror back like the statement that you made about how eye-opening it's been for you in terms of through the lens of human design, seeing that a lot of these traditional business practices or social programs that we have around work and business are limited,
Mm-hmm.
and that human design has sort of like created this doorway opening into understanding how to be in a more harmonious relationship with your energy, I imagine, but also with
Mm-hmm.
a clear sense of purpose and how to move through the world on a daily basis in a way that feels like really nourishing and fulfilling and,
Yes.
dare I say, successful for the projector.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so, yeah, to welcome your audience into human design, if this is your first time hearing about the system, or maybe you've heard bits and pieces through other platforms, but to just give you my personal synthesis of the system, it's first and foremost a tool for self discovery, self knowledge, self development, but also spiritual development. And it's a synthesis of both ancient and modern sciences. And it's very powerful because where most self discovery or self knowledge tools are based upon, like, if we think about Myers Briggs or like the Enneagram or things like that, which are all like beautiful tools and can give insight into our personalities and things like that, those are all subjective. They're based off of
Mm-hmm.
you taking like a assessment essentially and self-assessing and answering based off of your state of mind and potentially any conditioning influences that are present at that date and time that you're taking that. And human design, I feel, is especially unique because it's based off of your birth date, time, and location. So it's objective in that regard. That information is what it is, right? And so it's providing you with a very powerful foundation in terms of understanding who you are at your essential core. Prior
Mm.
to you becoming like the person that you've become over the course of your life up until now, where you've been experiencing social influence, conditioning potentially from childhood, from the education systems, from the business landscape that we're currently operating in. And all of those outside influences is what we call conditioning in the human design system. And it's what often conditions us away from having a felt sense of who we are in our pure, authentic essence, that core essence. And so,
Mm.
why I feel like human design is so powerful is because it provides this like roadmap back to who you are at your core.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond providing that picture or frame for people to see themselves through, the beauty of the tool is it's also a roadmap for how to live in alignment with your unique energy mechanics. And also, it provides guide rails for you to live out the full expression of your life purpose, which is something that it sounds like is really uh, interesting and meaningful to your audience. I know that it is for you from like a personal note, and it is for me as
Yeah.
well. And so that's what I like love about the system is it's so comprehensive. And to make it relevant for your audience, it can help you see yourself through the lens of who you really are, but it can also become this tool that's part of your tool belt that's guiding you on a daily basis into how to be in the highest expression of your gifts and how those formulate into your life purpose.
Mm.
And then where my role comes in through Expanded Flow and the business that we're building right now is we're aiding creatives, healers, coaches, consultants with business skills that enable them to honor their individual
Mm.
design mechanics and be able to actually build business models that feel sustainable and honor the truth of who they really are and feel like they're a channel for them to actually ground that life purpose into physical form.
Oh my God. So good. So, so good. You explained it so beautifully, more better than I could have ever explained it to anyone. I'm always like, it's based on your birth date, location, and time, and just go look it up. That's my explanation to people. So that is so beautiful. And I love how you tied it in with business. And one of the questions that comes up as you share that, and of course, there's a lot of details there. I know that there's 5 different types. Is that correct? There's 5 different
Mm-hmm.
human design types. So, with regards to business and each of us, with the basic understanding that each type has different ways, or maybe you can use better words than me, but like ways of operating that's optimal for that specific design, right? So would you say, or, from your experience, that based on the different type, there's different business models or ways of work, or ways of, running your business or creating your business that is different between each one? Or is there any similarities that's like the basis? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how do you see that?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. It's such a, I would say, topical question at this time frame that we're in right now, because
Mm-hmm.
as we began our conversation with today, like that shifting out of the old paradigm and having somewhat finite and limited ideas of like what business models need to look like. And in
Mm-hmm.
human design we refer to things that we try to impose on everyone as like a form of homogenization,
Mm.
that through the new paradigm of business, it's honoring those individual design mechanics to create much more diverse business models that are principled in the unique expression of the individual, the CEO, whoever is the head of that business. But then I think this is like something that maybe we can talk about today, or we can talk about in the future. But like where I also see us going collectively is like building, as people start potentially as like a solopreneur, but then as the business grows, they start to hire a team and they become the entrepreneur and the CEO that's managing a group of people. Is that business becomes an ecosystem of all of their individual design mechanics, and enables each of the people that are supporting that ecosystem of business to be in the highest expression of their gifts, and able to manage their energy on a daily basis based off of their type and things like that. So
Yes.
I just intuitively felt like we're going to weave that in. But to come back to come back to your question, yes, I mean, like as you mentioned, the chart that somebody can download, which you're able to do for free online, the website that I guide people to start is called Genetic Matrix, just because it has very accurate information. And it is important that your audience has their time of birth if they're able to have that, or as close as you can get to your time of birth in order to have like the fully accurate body graph. But because like you said, the system is very depthful and vast, the top layer of the system is that energy type that you're referring to, those 5 types. And people, what I want your audience to know is that you do not have to implement every single aspect of your design in order to receive benefit from the human design system. That if you're able to implement and understand how your energy operates through the lens of your type, and then your strategy and your authority, like that's what we call like the foundation of design. Because your energy type gives insight into how your energy naturally is running through your body on a daily basis without any intervention by the mind, or us trying to like force or will ourselves out of the way that our body is like just naturally moving. And so you can, and I recommend to your audience and to clients and things like that, that you are looking at your type and the attributes or the qualities of your type to inform how you're setting up like your daily, your weekly, your monthly schedule, so that it's supporting your natural energy flow. And you being a projector, that does look different than it does for me as a generator. And what we can loop your audience into, I think today, without going into too much depth and nuance, is that what makes Christina and I different is that Christina is a projector, which means that she has what's called a undefined sacral center. And within the human design body graph, there's 9 energy centers. They loosely correlate with like the Hindu chakra system, if your audience is familiar with that. But human design says that in the late 1700s, we actually evolved as a species to start moving from that 7-centeredness into being 9-centered beings. And so there's 9 energy centers in the body graph. One of them is the sacral center, which correlates to the sacral chakra. But that center is responsible for our life force energy. It's responsible for energy availability to act, to behave, like, and each of the centers in the body graph every single person is going to have like a unique configuration of like how many centers they have defined versus undefined. And what I mean by that is having definition in a certain center means that you have fixed, consistent, and reliable access to the qualities of that energy on a daily basis. And if it's undefined, it doesn't mean that you don't have energy. It just means that that energy is inconsistent, and that anywhere where we have openness in our design, it means that we are susceptible to absorbing and amplifying the energy of our environment and people around us who have definition in those areas of their chart. So for Christina to have an undefined sacral, it means that she has inconsistent sacral energy, but she absorbs and amplifies sacral energy. And what makes projectors so powerful is that you guys are able to get things done that might take a generator who has sacral definition like 4 or 5 hours. You can knock that out in like 1 to 2 when it's in alignment for you and like you have the energy for it. And I hear it time and time again with projectors that like that's why these 9 to 5 like business structures and business models definitely do not work for projectors or manifestors or reflectors, which is two other of the energy types, is because you guys do have these undefined sacrals. And so the way that your energy operates is much different than defined sacral energy, which is a generator or a manifesting generator. And so where our business models, I think, might differ just from like a very fundamental level is like, likely for you, it's going to feel really good for you to have a little bit more fluidity in your days and to be able to like get work done in like blocks of time and then have like spaciousness throughout the day and to have it really ebb and flow and like honor that like natural movement in your energy. Whereas for me, I have more consistent energy that's running through my body on a daily basis, but it needs to be utilized on activities that I have a sacral response for. And since I imagine that like a good portion of your audience is going to be either a generator or a manifesting generator, since that's about 70% of the population, I'll just share that like, I know that in the beginning that sometimes hearing that like, oh, we have consistent energy to like be moving and active and creating and working, that might feel a little bit confronting because, and I want to validate you here, because we have been operating in this old paradigm of business where there's these 9 to 5 types of structures set up, but that's only partially the issue. The majority of the issue is that we in our corporate work or just in misaligned work are being asked to give our energy to activities and tasks that we don't actually have the energy for. And what happens for the generator and the manifesting generator when we give our energy to things that we actually don't have a sacral response for, that's how we become depleted, drained, and are on the fast track to burnout. So I'll pause there because I know that I want to say for your audience that like what's cool about the generator projector dynamic, which you're able to witness right now, is that the projector aura is actually designed to focus on sacral energy, to focus on generators and manifesting generators, and to be the guides and the advisors for us. So I can just subtly feel that right now in our interview. So like, I love when Christina asks me a question, and then I also love to like pause and hear like where she wants to take us next. So that's what I'm going to do now.
I just love this so much. It's so good. And thank you so much for sharing all of that beautiful insight and, also kind of sharing the kind of like the comparison, the differences between projectors and generators, and manifesting generators. And I just have to say that when I found out that I actually can give myself permission to have spaciousness in my calendar, and that was actually the way that I was meant to operate, like so many light bulbs went off in that moment, because I was like, that's why I always crave spaciousness, and that's why I don't like to have like too much in my day where it's like boom, 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 or like just feeling like I'm stuck in this box and I have to do this at this time, and why schedules never really worked for me, being like, okay, at this time I'm going to do this and this time I'm going to do that, because it was like, I just want to do my thing and I want to have the flexibility to, ebb and flow, just like you shared. And I also really love how you, shared the part about how burnout can happen, but in different ways, because I feel like as a projector, for me, my burnout was the experience of feeling like I always had to do in order to keep up, and kind of basically try to operate as a generator and try to operate in a way where it was like, okay, work 9 to 5, even though it was my own business. I've been in the corporate setting, and so that was a whole thing. But then also just in my own business, feeling like I had to have this specific way or a specific structure that didn't allow for spaciousness. That was my burnout. But then also to hear for generators that it really is focused on that sacral yes. And that's actually one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, what does that feel like exactly? Or what does that mean to you when it's like the sacral yes? Like, how would you, because I think a lot of people also can get caught up in the, well, I should do that, or this sounds like a good idea. So how would you, as a sacral being, how would you define for you when you feel your sacral being like yes to something versus not? And is there any subtleties or discernment that you've become aware of where sometimes you kind of tricked into thinking that something is a yes, but actually it's not, you know what I mean? So I would love to hear that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Such a beautiful question. So powerful. So for your listeners that are sacral beings, like developing a relationship and like a intimacy with your sacral response is like foundational. Like I would say that is going to be one of the like key drivers in terms of like you being able to honor your energy and its expression and how it wants to express through you, and letting it be a system of guidance that moves you along your path towards actualizing your life purpose. That sacral relationship is crucial. So the sacral is really unique in that it operates in the now. And what I mean by that is like the sacral center is like located about 2 fingers down from like our belly button. And so a lot of people also refer to it as like that gut feeling or that gut knowing or that gut response. That's the sacral, and it operating in the now, it has the ability to operate and respond in the form of a yes or operate through the response of no, but it doesn't have awareness. Whereas like the mind has like awareness, and we have this ability to conceptualize and rationalize and form opinions and things like that. That's not what the sacral is doing. The sacral is just saying, yes, I have energy for this, or no, I do not. And what I encourage your audience, clients, anybody who has a defined sacral center is to understand somatically what it feels like in your body when you have a yes for something, an opportunity, what you want to eat for lunch, and when you have a no for something. And I will say that like the experience of the yes differs throughout the day, then and similarly for the no. Like I will say that in my own experience, that if this decision is fairly significant, like it's going to have significant impact in my life, I typically feel a very strong like yes or no. And like an example that I can provide is when I made the decision to leave my corporate position. Like
Mhm.
when the like next project was being presented to me, I felt a very strong like no, and these no's can feel like contractions of energy that are happening in the gut. They can feel like resistance. Uh, for some people it can feel like I feel a little bit sick to my stomach, but it's like it's the body kind of attracting and like moving away and saying no, we don't have energy for that. Whereas like a yes can feel uh as subtle as just kind of like a pull towards something, or like a or like a little bit of expansion. It can be much more like visceral and strong, and feel like it's like energy that's like moving up your whole body, and it's coming to your face, and it's like lit up and excitement that expresses through like your whole being, and it feels almost like a radiance. uh it really just depends. And
Mhm.
like I said, I encourage people to really be in an experiment with this in terms of developing like a connection, like a physical sense of how that operates in your body, and then to allow the nature of the sacral response and its yeses and its nos to take on um, their own forms through your being, because your sacral relationship is personal to you. And
Mhm.
yeah, I'll say that like a yes that I just had was actually in deciding which new pair of like noise canceling headphones that I wanted.
Mhm.
Um, I had narrowed it down actually to two sets, like two brands, and but I didn't have a clear like yes that like I should order one or over the other. So I ordered both, and then I put them in front of my sacral, and I let my sacral kind of feel into each. I actually ended up trying both pairs of headphones on, and then felt in my body, okay, which one feels like a yes when I'm wearing these headphones. And that
Mhm.
was how I ended up deciding. And I'm able to return the other pair. And that feels so good. Like I feel it in my body right now that I like gave myself that gift of just like letting her decide, letting the sacral decide
Mhm.
about decisions that like may seem like they don't carry, significant impact in like the day to day, but like I'm going to remember, my body is going to remember that like I like honored that sacral response and that I nourish it in that way.
Mhm.
And that's what I want like your audience to get into relationship with, because like that's what we're here to do, is to be in relationship with our design mechanics, how our energy operates, and
Mhm.
how it guides us into being in the highest expression of our gifts and our purpose and things like that. So
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I love both of those examples, but especially the one with the headphones, because you wouldn't typically think of something like that, right? When it comes to deciding, something that, like you said, seems kind of insignificant, but at the same time, it actually is very significant because, like you said, it's your sacral, and it's you honoring yourself and honoring your process of making decisions like that. So I think that's just amazing and so cool. And so I have just a couple more questions that keep popping up as you share, because you're just sharing so many beautiful insights. One question that I have in relation to, how our conditioning kind of comes in when it comes to making any sort of decision, right? Especially when it comes to the big, like maybe life changing things, like you shared, like deciding to leave corporate, right? You felt the sacral yes. And at what point do you feel, and maybe this is different for every design, but then the mind can come in, and the fear or the anxiety, and like, are you sure? Is that the right thing? Doubts and whatever. So is there any kind of way that you can just maybe, briefly share about how can we continue to honor what our being is guiding us towards, even though that type of decision can feel so scary and can feel, when the mind kicks in and the conditioning kicks in and says, that's not safe, you shouldn't do that, who are you, whatever. Like, what's a way that you would recommend for people to work through that stuff and to still, continue honoring, or even, sometimes the other part of that is, I think sometimes when the mind can kick in, it can make us doubt what our initial response was, and then that's how we end up not honoring. You know what I mean? So what would you say? I know it's a lot, but like in the most simplified way that or the best tool that you can think of right now to help people in honoring, kind of making decisions despite stuff like that can come up.
Yeah. This is a really beautiful question because the founder of human design, his name was Ra Aruhu. He has a quote that has been imprinted in my mind since the beginning of my studies, that human design is learning to make decisions as your true nature.
Mm.
And that is so powerful, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your question is honoring what that actually means, right? That it isn't the mind that is meant to make decisions for us, which is completely counter to all of our conditioning.
Yeah.
And so what does that mean then for somebody to look up their chart, to feel inclined to start experimenting with their design mechanics, to want to understand how to make more aligned decisions for themselves? What I would guide your audience to is to first look at what their inner authority is in their chart, and they're able to get that information through geneticmatrix.com through the free chart lookup. There are 7 different types of inner authority, and the way that each of those 7 authorities operates is going to be different. And so I would, as a first step, invite somebody into just understanding what it means to have the authority that you have. And I believe, if I remember from your design, you have splenic authority, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And I have sacral authority. So right there, people can already start to see that there's a difference in how you and I make decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then that's step 1, is just like understanding, what does it mean to have splenic authority? What does it mean to have sacral authority? And I think there's a lot of great information online. I think if your audience wants to invest in themselves and get a reading from somebody, they can do that as well. But then to address the piece of your question that I think is even more important than that like initial informational piece is like, okay, when I actually want to integrate this into my life, like I'm also integrating it while honoring and acknowledging the fact that my mind is used to making decisions for us, and that the mind's like primary motivation is to like keep us safe, and that it can feel like really scary for the mind to release control of our decision making authority and to give it to a part of the body. Like, whoa, that sounds weird.
Right.
So how do we like honor that like natural fear that comes up, especially in the beginning, which you're asking about? And what I work very intentionally with my one-on-one mentorship clients on is moving them through a framework and a process that's like unique to their design mechanics, but enables them to begin to build trust with their authority. And it does take time, right? Because at the same time that you're building trust with your authority, you're also moving through a process of deconditioning that mind from being the primary lever, the primary decision maker that we're giving power to, right? And so I encourage your audience to start with smaller decisions. Like, I would not recommend that somebody learns about their inner authority and that their splenic authority and sacral authority, and they ride that through to like make a big decision, such as like leaving their corporate position. Like, start with something like much smaller, like what do I want to eat for dinner tonight? Like, what do I want to like do this weekend? Like, which book do I want to read next? Like, where do I want to take my partner for our next date? Like, things like that. And allowing that inner authority to guide that, and then see where it leads you, and then show the mind, oh my gosh, look at how amazing this is. Because the beauty of human design is that when we can relax into following our strategy and our authority, it leads us into abundance. It leads us into fulfillment. It leads us into our like signature theme. Each type has its own signature theme. I'll just share that, like, for Christina as a projector, her signature emotional theme is actually success, but it's not in like the traditional like homogenized understanding of success. It's Christina's own definition of success, but it's a certain energetic quality that she experiences. It likely is happening through like her one-on-one and group client program work that you're doing, and like when you're creating YouTube videos to share with your audience, when you're asking questions, like that feeling that you receive on the other side of that service that you're offering to the world. For projectors, that's success. And then for generators, it's satisfaction. And that satisfaction for me just feels like gooey in my body, like melty. Like, I know that I already know I'm going to feel it on the other side of this podcast interview today. But it's just like a very like present space, like satisfaction of like, oh my gosh, like life is just good. And so like giving your self permission to like allow yourself to experience that through small decisions, and then show the mind, hey, look at how amazing I feel when I followed my authority and it was like a low stakes thing. And so like, hey, maybe we get to try next time with like a little bit of a bigger decision. And like, that's what I think is like a much more effective and sustainable approach for people integrating their design versus just learning about it and then feeling like they need to pressure themselves into like immediately being in relationship with this authority and like trusting it like beyond anything that the mind could come in and interject with. Like we need to give ourselves permission to like go through this deconditioning process and to like love and accept ourselves throughout the journey, because human design is a journey. It's an experiment. And we say that like it takes time to basically unwind that conditioning and build trust that we can relax into our design mechanics, and that they are taking care of us, and that the mind gets to become, how we refer to it in human design is like that the mind gets to become the passenger that just enjoys like the view, like that the body in the vehicle is like driving us and steering us like along our like life path and our life purpose, and that like the mind just gets to like enjoy the view.
I love that so much. And thank you so much for speaking to the fact that this is a journey and not something that is, you know, learning about human design and let's implement everything day one and just, you know what I mean? Because I think sometimes we can have a tendency to do that, or to feel like, you know, I know for me, it was like, oh my gosh, if I'm not doing every single thing exactly how it's supposed to, then how my design is supposed to be, then I'm going to fail, or, you know, whatever. It's like I'm not in full alignment, or whatever mind chatter comes up around that, you know, and it's like you said, it's a human design journey. And there's so much, like, we haven't even been able to talk about so many other things related to human design because there's so much information. And even for me, I still feel like I'm a beginner, even though it's been, about 2 years since I first discovered it. And
Mhm.
being able to give ourselves permission to just look at it as a journey, just like everything else when it comes to our soul's purpose and truth and who we are and our gifts. It's a journey that gets to just expand and grow with us, and we get to deepen into each aspect of it as it becomes relevant in our life. And I think that's one of the key things that I've learned as well for myself, is that certain parts of it have felt more relevant, so to speak, in the sense of, okay, this is my time now to kind of focus on this part. Like, really understanding my splenic authority was a thing for me, and then focusing on other aspects as it became relevant just through living my life. And I think that that is a really beautiful and powerful way, a beautiful, powerful perspective of looking at human design and how we operate with it and in it and all of the things. So I'm just so, so grateful for all of this amazing information today. Um, and I feel like, just as we tie things up and come to a close with this, I feel like as we, follow our spiritual path and journey of knowing who we are on a soul level and tie it in with how we're meant to operate in this human existence, I feel like that's the magic right here, where we're honoring, our soul's truth or greater purpose, what we're passionate about. And then we're also now understanding what is the optimal way that I'm actually meant to bring that forth into the world, right? How, I have this divine energy connection, understanding, awareness, calling in my heart. How do I actually translate it into the world? And it's going to look different for each person, right? And Kalei, if there's anything you want to share to speak to that, as we conclude this episode, I would love to hear any final insights regarding that connection.
Mm. Hmm. The piece that's coming through me right now is like a pretty simple statement, but I think that it carries weight. Is our authority is how God or spirit speaks through us, and it is what is guiding us. So if we can come into a trusting relationship with that, then we are in relationship with source, with spirit, with God, with the divine on a moment to moment basis. Like I start to feel emotional even as I say that, but that is what feels relevant to communicate in response to everything that you just mentioned, is that.
So good. I got chilled as you were saying that. And I also feel that, like, so deeply, like, yes, like, yes, yes, yes to that. That is how the divine communicates with us, or the most direct way that it communicates with us.
Mhm.
And I just love that. It's like, there, we're done. Like, that's it. That's the most beautiful way to end that and to bring that together. So thank you so much once again. I know for a fact that people are going to love this conversation today and are going to want to learn more about how they can connect with you, about what you have going on. So I want to take a few moments right now for you to share. I know you have a couple things that are happening right now. So if you want to share a little bit about, what you have going on, any offers, special offers, and things like that you have for the audience, go for it.
Yeah. First, I just want to say thank you, Christina, for the opportunity for us to connect and be in conversation together today. Like, I want your audience to know that, like, you are such a bright light, and being in your energy is a gift in and of itself. Like, it's been meaningful for us to be able to develop the relationship that we have over the last few months. And So it does feel like an honor to be able to be here and to be able to connect with you and your audience in this way today. So thank you for that. And yeah, if your audience is curious about coming into deeper intimacy with the human design system, I have an offer that I would like to share with your audience. Right now, I'm running a monthly subscription platform for people who have learned the foundations of their human design, and that includes like your energy type, your strategy, and your authority, which for the most part you can look up that information for yourself online, or like I said, you can get a reading through somebody. But where I was really seeing in the marketplace that there was opportunity to support people is for those who understand those and they now want to be in deeper intimacy with the system and starting to move into some of those deeper layers like we've alluded to earlier in the discussion. So I have a platform for people. The subscription is called Atlas Flow, and what I want to gift to your audience today is a 7-day free subscription for you to go in and test drive the content that's available for you there. There's a monthly theme inside of the subscription, and it's covering in depth like one area of the chart through a couple of different angles, and also creating spaciousness for you to be in contemplation with this information, so that it actually feels like you have the space needed to integrate it and actually apply it practically to your day to day. I also give a lot of, I would call it like mini coaching or type of like reflection exercises that actually supports you in seeing how you can integrate that into your day to day. Because human design, I think, is wonderful in principle, but what I really want for the world is for people to be living by their design. And so Atlas Flow is a space for people to be, like I said, in deeper intimacy with this information while also receiving practical insights for integration. And then the other offer that I have is for people who identify as a early stage entrepreneur. And what I mean by that is either you're currently in the corporate world and you're about to make the leap into the wild and wonderful world of entrepreneurship, or you are somebody who identifies as a new entrepreneur that's still getting your feet under you. You're in the first 6 to 12 months of your business, and I have a course that's launching in a couple weeks. I think about the time frame that this episode goes live. It's called Seamless, and it's about making a seamless transition from the corporate world to entrepreneurship. And it's about learning business fundamentals that is also through the lens of human design, so that from the beginning of your business journey, you're starting to identify as an entrepreneur through the lens of your individual expression, and that you are being taught in a way that understands the nuance of how your energy needs to be managed on a day-to-day basis in order to be effective in your role as an entrepreneur. And it's teaching you a few core skills that I think are going to be supportive and help you feel more grounded and capable of actually executing on the day-to-day priorities that an entrepreneur is facing. And they're the skills that I feel like support people in stabilizing their identity as an entrepreneur before they even start the process of the offer creation and the marketing and the sales. It's like the true fundamentals. And so that course is going to be available for people around the time that this episode goes live. And if that feels of interest to you, then the way that people can connect with that and learn more about that is through my Instagram. So I am present on my Instagram page. The handle is Expanded Flow. And if you feel called to connect with my work, that's where I would recommend that you start. And yeah.
Oh my gosh.
As I said, thank you for
Yes.
allowing me to be here.
Oh my gosh, so good, so good. And I just have to say, I wish I had this information back at the beginning of 2017 when I started this business. But, it's all, everyone has their own journey and unique way of, everything in divine timing, as I always say. But this is so beautiful and so powerful, I feel like, because it's essentially, to me, it sounds like, you get to kind of fast track towards your entrepreneur journey and who you're here to be, and really being that full expression of who you're meant to be through the work that you're here to do. So I just love that so much. Thank you for sharing that. All of the links that, to be able to connect with Kalei and the offers that she shared and the gifts that she has here are going to be in the show notes below. So you can go find all of that below this episode. And so as we wrap up, I just want to say once again, thank you so much, Kalei, for coming on here today, for sharing your incredible insight and wisdom, your knowledge, all of the things. This was such a beautiful conversation, and I'm so excited for everything that is unfolding from here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And so for everyone else who is listening in, please feel free to share your comments below. Let us know what was the biggest insight that came through for you, the biggest nugget. There's so many different nuggets, but what really resonated with you? We would love to hear from you in the comments below. And then, of course, go connect with Kalei. Go check her out. She's incredible. And that's it. So that's it for today's episode. As always, I am sending you so much love and angel blessings, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Thank you once again for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you want to learn more about the Divine Connection podcast, you can go to christinaaroche.com/podcast and learn about how you can be featured on the show.